Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be making a fairly short video. Hopefully it won't be over 20 minutes long. And we are going to be talking about a couple of things here. So let's go into the simulator and let's take a look at our final completed application here. And we are going to be looking at, the first thing is this tab bar at the very bottom. So I'm going to show you guys how to build a tab bar controller with these 5 icons here. And then we are going to look at how to highlight a collection view cell so that we can have a background color and also modify the elements inside of the cell, such as the white font for the text that you're seeing on that cell. And finally, the last thing we want to look at is this actual date timestamp here. And notice how the date format for these 4 cells on the top are just using the actual hours and minutes. And then this cell uses the day of the week. And finally, the bottom cell uses the month, day, and year. So first, let's begin. Let's begin by taking a look at how we want to build out this UITabBarController. So I want to go back to this code here, and I am going to run the application. And remember, this is the code that we have that uses core data to power our UI collection view here. And it uses some sorting and some predicates to filter out the messages. So remember, this is actually kind of like part 4 of the videos, and there's going to be 3 links in the description below for part 1, 2, and 3. And if you want to kind of catch up, you can go ahead and do that. And that being said, let's open up AppDelegate here and take a look at lines 23, 24, and 25 here. The one thing I want to show you guys how to do is to actually build a UITabBarController programmatically. So let's first demo what this looks like without the friends recent messages controller, and we're using just a basic tab bar controller like this. Cool. Now, after running, we get a black top portion here, and then we get the tab bar at the very bottom. So the easiest way of building a custom tab bar controller is to just create a new file, call it custom tab bar controller, like that. And then in here, we want to actually import UIKit, create a class called custom tab bar controller. Pretty straightforward, I hope. And we subclass it as a UITabBarController. And here is where we set up our view controllers. So let's have a view to load override and set up our custom view controllers. Now, to set it up, we actually set a property called view controllers as an array of view controllers. And the first view controller we want to create is our friends controller up here. So I'm just going to call it friends controller like this. And remember, this is a collection view controller, so it requires a collection view layout like that. We're just going to create the layout up here. And basically, all this code is what we did in these couple of lines here. And the final part is to actually use this navigation controller. And what I mean is we have to create a, let's see, recent messages nav controller equals UI navigation controller. So nothing too difficult, and specifying friends controller as the root controller. Now, having created that nav controller, I can just specify that in there. And I want to also change one thing, which is the tab bar item.title is recent. So setting that title string to the recent string, we should get something in here. So why aren't we seeing anything, right? And the reason is because we haven't specified this custom tab bar controller inside of our AppDelegate file. So we do that, and we get our pretty much the screen that we had before as our home screen, and we get this tab bar controller at the very bottom. which is good. That's exactly what we want. And to finish off this implementation, we will set the image on the tab bar item to some kind of image. And the name of this image will be recent. And I'm going to import a recent asset in here by going into Finder. So let me just drag this up here. And we have 5 icons for each of the tab bar items. So I'm going to drag that in there. So we have calls, groups, people, recent, and this settings gear icon right there. So having imported that asset inside of our catalog, we can run the application. We'll see that clock show up right there. So pretty easy, pretty straightforward, I hope. And now I want to create the remainder of these tab bar items by just simply creating some dummy view controllers. So I'm going to create a dummy view controller like this, UI view controller. And then I'm going to create a dummy nav controller like this. So UI navigation controller, view controller like this. And then we will do the same thing we did just above and set the tab bar item title equal calls. And we will create the image just like we did before, named calls. And having this second dummy controller, we can just specify inside of this array here, and then we'll get these 2 tab bar items down here. So the rest of these tab bar items are created very, very similarly. And because of the similarities, we can create a simple function down here that's going to be private. And I'm going to use this as my convenience method called create dummy nav controller with title. And this takes in 2 parameters, right? So string is our first parameter, image name is the second parameter, and this will return a either a navigation controller or a view controller. It doesn't matter so much because this is a subclass of view controllers, which will just kind of plop inside of this array. So I'm going to copy and paste that code into here, and finally return the navigation controller at the very bottom there. Next, we want to change this title to the actual title, and let's just change this image name to image name. And basically these 2 parameters are now being used inside of this generic dummy controller function call. Now, having done that, I can just comment that out, replace that with title. Let's see, let's have it auto-complete it for us. Okay, title, and this will say calls, and this will use lowercase calls like that. And having ran that piece of code, now we get exactly what we had before. And I want to emphasize that this is a much better way of creating these dummy controllers rather than pasting all of this stuff like 4 additional times. Good programmers always want to reduce the amount of duplicated code inside of their application by creating these convenience methods like this. So the next tab I want to take a look at is this groups, and then we have people and settings. So I'm going to create that really quickly here. So people, and image name is people. Here we'll say create dummy controller. And the next icon is, let's see, actually this is groups. Groups and groups. This will say people, and this will have lowercase people. Finally, we will create our settings tab bar items. And I'm going to run this now. Hopefully I get all of our image or all of the tab bar images. And yes, we do. So all of these images and titles appear pretty easily inside of this little tab bar item. So basically that's how you would create your UITabBarController inside of a custom class. And all of this is done programmatically because in the very first video, I decided not to use storyboards. So I'm going to remove that bit of code, and everything is pretty much neatly packed inside of our view did load function right here. All right, next thing we want to look at is how to achieve this custom cell highlight like that. And that is also quite straightforward. So I'm going to go into View Controller, and inside of our, let's see, View Controllers file, we have this message cell. Let's see. And basically the message cell is containing each one of these row UI components right here. So for example, the image view, the name, and the text down there. So let's see. I'm going to run this code again, bring back our application. And notice if I click on this row, we don't get a highlight of the background. And to achieve the highlight, let me just go into message cell here. And I'm going to do an override of the highlighted Boolean variable like this. And I'm going to create or add this did set block here, right? So I'm going to show you what this does right here. So if I do print highlighted and run the application now, every time I click the application, it signifies or signals a highlight like that. And I'm just looking at the console down at the very bottom, and it says true and false. Basically, it sets a highlight when you click on it, and then when you release the tap, it sets the highlight to false. And to set the background color, we'll say background color equals highlighted like that. So this is a ternary operator. And if it's highlighted, we'll use a UI color of, let's just use blue color for now. Otherwise, we'll use a UI color of white. Running this application, I can show you kind of what it does now. So click, it turns blue. And then on the highlight being turned off, we get the white color. So that's basically how you would achieve that effect. And let's see, what do I want to look at here? I actually want to get the color of the blue. And I'm just gonna look at what I have here as my highlighted color. Okay. So this will actually be a blue color that matches this blue tint down here. And we'll use an RGB value of, say, 0, 134 over 255, and 249 over 255 with alpha value of 1. And that's basically just RGB with this UI color instantiator right there. So that gives you this nice blue background. And next, I want to change the text of these 3 labels by doing something very similar to the background color, which is, let's see, name label dot text color equals UI color. Actually, let's use highlighted like so. And in here, we'll say if it's highlighted, use white color. Otherwise, just use black color like that. And so I'm going to copy and paste this 2 times like so. This will say time label, and this last bit will just say message label. So when it is highlighted, we change that color to white, and then on the highlight being turned off, it goes back to black like that. So pretty straightforward, nothing too difficult about that. And the final thing we want to look at here before I kind of end the little lesson today is this actual time label that is on the right side that changes based on how long the message was sent, right? So let me illustrate the first difference in time with this Tuesday example here. And I'm going to go into Friends Controller Helper. I'm going to create this Mahatma Gandhi message right here. Okay. So I'm going to create inside of set of data, inside of Friend Controller Helper, we set up our messages right here. So I'm going to set up a new friend called Gandhi. So Gandhi, I hope that's how you spell his name. And I'm going to copy, I'm copying this entire bit here. And I'm going to replace all of that with Gandhi. So Gandhi is our new friend. Gandhi's name is not Donald Trump. So let's see. I believe it's Mahatma Gandhi. And this, let me see, should be Gandhi profile. I'm going to import that asset just a little bit later. Inside of here, we'll use Gandhi. And he is going to say, love, peace, and joy. And finally, we'll modify this minutes ago in just a little bit. And having done that, let's just use 60 times, maybe 4 or 5. And that's going to be 5 hours ago inside of our application. So I'm going to run that, and we get Gandhi here with his new message. And this is 5 hours ago because right now it's currently 12:03 in the West Coast. And I want to import this Gandhi profile here. So Gandhi is here. I'm going to import his asset right there. And his asset name is actually Gandhi, like that. And the next thing I want to change is this actual timestamp. I want to push it 1 day behind. So basically what this means is minutes ago is 60, and if I push it 24 times 60, that's going to be 24 hours ago. So I'm gonna run that. It should say roughly 12:04 or 12:03. So cool. Gives me 12:04, and I can start playing with this number right now inside of the View Controller. Let's look at this cell here. And every time we set message on one of these cells, we're using this if let block here to actually format this date. So we're setting the text here using this date formatter in line 83. And we can do a couple of things here. Okay, we're going to look at this date formatter right here. And we're going to have to do a couple of things. First, we will decide on the time elapsed here. So let's call this elapsed time in seconds. And we'll do this. So NSDate, new date right here. And we'll use time interval since date right there. And we use date. And we're going to do this here. So if elapsed time in seconds is greater than, greater than something here, we'll change the date formatter. Date format equals EEE, which specifies the actual date as, let's say something like Tuesday will be TUE. And so the next thing we have to figure out is, what is this question mark here? And basically, we'll just specify a second in days variable right there. And this will be 60 seconds times 60 minutes times 24. And here, if it's greater than 7 times second in days, well, actually, this should be just that. And then let's see, date format. Cool. And it's currently complaining about the actual type right here. And if we change that to NS time interval, it will be fine. I'm going to run the application now with that new bit of logic, and let's see what it does. So basically, here's what we're saying. If this date object is greater, or the elapsed time is greater than this date object, and if it's greater than 1 day, then we print out this actual day instead of the actual hours and minutes. And finally, we will try to do the same thing with the actual date if it's greater than 7 days. Basically, if it doesn't fall within a week's time span, we want to specify month, day, and year. We will do that by first doing this. So if we do elapsed time in seconds is greater than 7 times second in days, we'll change the date formatter to the actual month, day, and year. And in order to illustrate this last message with that date right there, we have to go back to friend controller helper, and I'm going to create this last bit of this last message here. We'll just call this Hillary, and this will say Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. Here we'll use Hillary Clinton as name, and I think I just called it Hillary profile for the image. Let me see here. I'm going to drag Finder back up here. So I called it Hillary profile. Let's just go ahead and import the image asset right there. And inside of this, we'll say, please vote for me. You did for Billy. And here we'll say 8 times 60 times 24. Basically, that is 8 days from right now. I'll run this application now, and we'll see Hillary's last message on the bottom. However, we still see Wednesday right there. And the reason is because, see, going back to the view controller and going back to this date logic here, the reason is because this should actually go above this if check here, because it's falling under this if clause as true. And basically we need to bring it up here and say this right here, else if, remove this last bit here, and then run again. We'll now see month, day, year printed as the actual time label for the message. And let's see, that looks pretty good. We have the minutes or hours and minutes, and then we have Wednesday, and then we have something that's greater than a week ago. Cool. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. And hopefully you enjoyed the video. A lot of you guys are presenting really, really interesting questions, comments, and other suggestions for videos out there. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the content and learning a lot from this channel. That's pretty much what I'm trying to put out there, trying to educate people on how to do things, maybe perhaps without storyboards, and teaching a new way of programming iOS applications programmatically. So hopefully it's helping people out there. And if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like this video and kind of share it, let people know, and hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel. So that's all for today. Enjoy your day and keep on coding. Bye.